Everyone to our pilot program for our returning citizens. And I would like to thank our premier partners and sponsors, Truist, our wonderful program manager, Natasha Horton, as well as Kaylin. We are very grateful to have you here this evening to support us on this pilot program, and thank you for your continued support. As Greater Baltimore Urban League strives to provide the key pillars of the direct service, advocacy, and referral services to the Baltimore community, we recognize the urgency to address the harsh reality of ongoing barriers to returning citizens that face unfair housing, employment, and other education issues. More than 600,000 individuals return to their communities from state and federal prison every year. This year, it has been highlighted by the COVID pandemic. Unfortunately, many of our returning citizens are released early, which is a blessing. However, they're often released back into our communities without appropriate resources for sustainability and success. We would like to remove those barriers. Every person leaving incarceration should have housing, should have an opportunity to a decent job and adequate health care. A person's conviction history should not fairly exclude them from employment, occupational licensing, access to credit, public benefits, the right to vote, or this American dream. So we thank you guys so very much for being a part of our program and hope that you will be a part of pressing on the future and the support of our returning citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Majors. Thank you. Can you clap?
Nicole, we can't hear anything you're saying.
Oh, wow. Okay, so much for being muted and going through a protocol for the meeting. I apologize, everyone. Again, good evening. My name is Nicole Cameron. I am the Director of Workforce Development at the Greater Baltimore Urban League, and we are sharing my screen so you can see the presentation. Just as a FYI for protocols, this activity is being recorded. We do ask that if you have any questions, you put them in the chat so we can try to monitor them and share them at the end of the program. So what I would like to do now is just talk about some highlights of the Second Chance program that we provide, which is our Returning Citizens Employment Program. Our program is a pilot to serve 300 returning citizens who are released between 2020 and 2023. Our primary focus is to obviously serve Baltimore City residents. But we will also support and serve residents from Frederick County and Montgomery County. Next. The program is going to be designed to address barriers. Ms. Majors mentioned some of them in her presentation, but basically we want to do whatever we can to help drastically impact returning citizens so they are not dealing with the issue of being, recidivism, but also to become productive members of the society. Some of our 4 pillars are as follows. We want to make sure that we're providing navigation, connecting participants to resources to promote economic stability. That's key. We want to make sure we prepare our program applicants for jobs, retention, and life skills training. We want to connect them to workforce training and job placement programs. You're going to learn more about that later on when Walter Billups speaks. We also want to integrate evidence, positive youth development techniques into workforce development. We know that there's a great population out there that we have to do a better job in supporting, and that's our youth. So we're looking at programs and partnerships to support youth who are dealing with some significant challenges in this city. Next slide, please. Some of the program eligibility is as follows. You must be 18 years old. You must have been obviously in a current conviction as an adult or in prison under the federal or state law. Current enrollment in a state or local release program. We're definitely partnering with folks to make sure that we can support home detention, Volunteers of America, but within 6 months of enrollment. Residents must also live in a geographic area that I mentioned earlier, from Baltimore City, Frederick County, and Montgomery County. Some of the benefits, as you can see, this is only a few of them, but overall, we want to make sure we have a positive impact in education enrichment. You'll learn more from Baltimore City Community College about their program, job development training, and the financial literacy piece. That's critical. And our wonderful premier partner, Natasha Horton, will speak about that shortly, or in her closing remarks. But this is some of the one great program that they will provide to us. So we're grateful for that. So thank you, Natasha, for that. One-on-one group mentoring services, customized case management, job training in high demand occupational fields. And I'm gonna speak to that later when I talk about data metrics, job placement services, program milestones. We know that there's a critical need for transportation costs, sometimes stipends. We want to make sure we celebrate, and we may not could give you the prom, but we may want to celebrate and do a graduation program as you reach certain milestones. We know we're still in a pandemic. So right now, most of our programs will be virtual. So we will provide a laptop and connectivity services to each of our applicants. So we're very excited about that and glad that we have partners to support that as we do the rollout. Next. Some Maryland data points, and I mentioned this earlier. Right now, as of April 2021, the Baltimore Business Journal highlighted that our unemployment rate, it remains at a 6.2%. The US national average is a 6.6%. So Maryland, we're not doing bad. As of March 2021, 13,000 jobs came back to Maryland. Majority of those jobs were in leisure and hospitality, but also in construction. So that's one of our major work areas. Education, health services, financial activities, and manufacturing. That's the second program that we focus on, which is manufacturing. So thank you for sharing that slide. That's important. So everyone knows that there's growth going on in Maryland. And so we got a lot to go. We're not where we were last year, but we're definitely on an uptick. So that's a good point. So I think it's important to get the facts. I think sometimes we hear these stories and we don't put the face to the names, or we just get caught up that there's folks that have a detriment to societies. And they don't really realize that a lot of folks are dealing with challenges as they become returning citizens. And then we all know someone, and we have a responsibility to help support them and provide programming to support them. So I wanted to give some visuals to that. 1 in 3 Americans, adults, have a criminal record. That's approximately 70 million people, 70 million people. So alarming, but that's why the work we do is important. 86% of all US adults have the primary goal to be restored back in their community, no matter what the crime is. I think we need to understand that 86% of all US adults is a big piece of what the work we're doing, and that we need to make sure we're connecting partners and stakeholders to better serve them, because that's a large group of folks. 48,000 legal barriers to second chances. Yes, this month is second chance. But when you're dealing with all the barriers that we mentioned earlier, imagine just being incarcerated is the major barrier. That's 48,000 people who are dealing with just that one issue. Here we go. Why should we do what we're doing? Because it's a $65 billion impact. The loss of economics, because we're not dealing with programming and providing support, we need to put money in programs to really engage and reintegrate returning citizens to the workforce. So that right now, I know from our partners, our bank partners who are on, $65 billion. If anyone asks the why of what we do, that's the why of what we should do. At this point, I would like to do a couple of things, but I wanted to share that I did mention that this is Second Chance Month. President Biden, March 31st, actually, has proclaimed that April 2020 will be Second Chance Month. So he called on all government educators, programming, to provide some type of program or ceremony or service to host an event to promote second chance awareness. So we're glad that we're able to do that with the Truist Bank, who are here, VP Natasha Horton, we mentioned earlier, BCCC, Baltimore City Community College, and the National Center on Institutions of Alternatives, NCIA, who are all committed to serve this critical population, but also more importantly, they're stakeholders in the game. They're the foot soldiers in the community. So we're excited that we're going to have all of them part of this program, but I'm more excited to speak with some returning citizens so we can have a real talk, a courageous conversation about not just the role we each play, but what they have experienced and what barriers we may still need to address that we're not aware of. So there's no need for us to sometimes just read about or watch a video. We need to talk to folks who are impacted every day, who may look like us, and we want to hear from them. So I am blessed and honored to have two of our community members, Miss Donna Wood, on tonight, and we also will have Elijah Davis. So I'm not sure if Miss Wood will be available at the present time, but I think she is unmuted.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, great, Miss Wood. So I'm going to start introducing you. And I would like to share, because she gave me a wonderful introduction. I want to share it. Miss Donna Wood is a proud mother of 3 adult children, currently working as a supervisor in the medical field. She's been home since 2019. And some important values that she lives by are as follows: love thyself, how powerful that is. And that she works hard to make sure she supports her children stay on the right track. Yes, even though they're adults, she still works hard to make sure they understand the impact. So my Zoom guests, I will please share some hearts, praying hands, and encourage her, because this is her first public speaking engagement. And I'm so excited that Walter Billups has blessed me with the introduction and that she would join us this evening. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Wood, and then I'll introduce our next guest, which will be Elijah Davis. But
Okay.
and if you're, because I'm not sure your time schedule, so I want to make sure I have enough time. Are we okay with time, Miss Wood?
Yeah, they just do a little monkey wrench in me though, because I'm training somebody. So I left her alone for like 5 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll give you this 5 minutes and I'll come back to Mr. Davis. Is that okay, Mr. Davis? Just give me a thumbs up. So Miss Wood, I would like to, and I know I said I will share for you some pointing guiding questions, but I want to, if you had to speak to your younger self, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell
Well,
yourself?
my younger self, actually, in my younger self, I had to go through some things in order to get the outcome that I have now. Because my younger self was also like my older self until I got incarcerated. But if I could do it all over again, like I said, I had to love myself, and I didn't love myself. I didn't even know who I was. So looking back over the things that I have been through, I try to encourage, because I have a daughter as well, not to go through that anymore. And I try to encourage other people, because I do want to share this with everybody. I was in an abusive marriage, and that stems from my father to the person that I married. So, and a lot of us young people, especially women, we just settle for anything because we feel that's what love is, and it's not. So if I could go back, I wouldn't just settle. I would have tried to do better and not put myself in situations like that anymore. What was the next question?
My next question for you, what were some of your major obstacles that you faced as you transitioned coming home? And then tell us, how did you overcome one of those or two of those obstacles that you may identify?
My major obstacle was, and I heard the first lady speak about it, was finding a job, because your background follows you. And that's what I struggle with getting a job, because everybody always look at your background and they think you are what your background is, and it's not so. So I had a chance to get 2 really good jobs, but because they looked at my background, it stopped me from getting those jobs. So, but I mean,
Thank you for
I
sharing.
did. You're welcome, but I did find something else, and I'm doing okay.
You're doing just, she's currently serving as a supervisor in the medical field. So we're so excited and proud of you. My last question, I think it's my last question. I may find another one, but I think this may be my last
Okay.
What should organizations such as the Greater Baltimore Urban League or other nonprofits or other entities who have workforce programs, dedicated to supporting returning citizens, what should they have that they currently don't have to ensure a smoother transition for a returning citizen? So what do they currently don't have that we should have?
When I came home, I had an officer, and his name was Officer Robert Horn with the Baltimore City Police Department. They have a reentry program. So I went through that program, which is how I met Mr. Walton in his program. And Mr. Walton introduced me to somebody that he knew to get me a job. So that's how I got my first start, was through the officer Robert Horn and Mr. Walton.
They were very
So
supportive. Did they have things that we wish that we would have had for you, or did they have all the necessary program support that were in place?
They had things that got me through.
Gotcha.
You know, it was like I was mainly doing so like a network, like a step program. That's how I feel like I was doing. You know, I'll meet somebody, then I meet somebody else. So, but I really don't know about your program. I just know a little bit
we're excited
about it.
to
And I'm trying to, yeah, and I'm willing, I'm ready to learn more about it. Actually,
Good.
I know we talked about certain things that I wanted to do, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, because Ms. Wood has aspirations to go back to school. If you don't mind me sharing this,
That's fine.
to get her RN. So, you know, my background is in higher education for 20 years. So, you know, I already started making some connections for Ms.
Right.
Wood.
Oh, well, thank you.
Very, very excited about sharing some of those resources to you that can help support you in that journey. My last question, I told you I would find another one. Didn't I tell you that?
That's fine. That's fine.
Here's a chance for you to maybe thank your village or your cheerleaders. What do you want them to know and hear from you?
I want them to know that I appreciate them for standing beside me and guiding me, first of all. And I still have to I call Mr. Walter every now and then from time and time again. So it's like I still need that support, you know. And I just thank him for being there when I do need, you know, them. And also, it's never, if you have a support system, it should never stop. You should just keep using it regardless, whether you're doing good or not, because something always coming, something is always different. You're gonna always need something, and you're gonna always need help from somebody. So if you got a good support system, keep utilizing them. And I don't know, I still need mine.
Well, we thank you for saying that. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Oh, I can't hear you.
I didn't mean to cut you off, so go ahead. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. But I just wish, you know, like you said, what the people that is coming home, that they really reach out and get to know y'all, because it's helpful. It's very helpful.
Well, thank you. See, that wasn't too bad, was it, Ms. Wood?
Well, you say that.
I know you have, you're still working, but I still want you, if you're able to stay on to listen to the Mr. Davis speak. But I want to thank you personally. I know sometimes we don't always give people roses and the flowers when we should. So giving you a big, big bouquet of roses now. You'll have another gift coming shortly. So we want to thank you, and thank you for blessing us. We know it's not easy to share your journey. And my protocol or the etiquette was share what you're able to share and what you want to share. And thank you for sharing what you wanted to share. That's most important.
Well, I was a little nervous tonight. I'm sorry.
You did fine. You did fine. Didn't you do fine, everyone? You did fine.
Thank you.
Myself, I'd like to introduce Mr. Davis, who's very, very busy. His name is Elijah Davis, and he is a returning citizen, a teacher, a photographer, a mentor, a businessman, and he was recently appointed to the Baltimore City's Trauma Informed Care. So I am just super excited to know that he's going to be in that role because if you know anything about who we serve and where we live, trauma-informed care is very important. So to have you at the table, Mr. Davis, with decisions and policies are being discussed is a blessing. So I'm just glad to have you in that space. So again, thank you for being part of this program this evening. And I would like you to start with just sharing. I'll share some of my same questions I asked for Ms. Wood, but I believe you're not shy at all. So if there's other things you would like to share, we have no problem with that as well. So Mr. Davis, I'll start with the first question. What were some of the challenges or obstacles that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, before I answer, I just want to give you a little background. I was incarcerated 20 years. And when I returned, just about 90% of my immediate family had passed on. So I really had no family unit or support unit in place. And the system did a really poor job in preparing me before I was released. It was, just through the grace of God and the fact that I did prior to prison, I attended Tuskegee. I was a business owner and I did a few, I accomplished a few things. And I was just about where I am now prior to my incarceration. So, through the grace of God and some network of people that I was fortunate to meet when I was released, I'm here today and I can be a testament to the fact that people can re-enter society successfully, right? So with, again, presenting you with that, one of my major obstacles was housing. And I'm pretty much like a history buff, so I've done a lot of research on the Constitution. And when you look at the Fair Housing Act of 1968, I couldn't believe that the state laws would allow property owners to be that discriminatory. So it's like, even today with me, I've taken pictures, I'm a photographer, I'm an event photographer. So I've taken pictures of the likes of Cardi B, Faith Evans, just a few, kind of like iconic people. Yet I still can't live where I want to live. And, I served my time. I've tried to do as much as I humanly possibly could do since I re-entered society to make my community better. I've mentored, I give up my time freely in the school systems. I taught workshops in photography. I started mentoring programs. I've worked, with organizations in my community to preserve it. Like, I'm from the Upton community, and I work freely. I give, I give up my services freely to those organizations in that community that want content for their websites and things of that nature. However, there's really nothing that could be done, in assisting me to get, fair housing. So that was major. And without stability, it's kind of hard, dealing with the emotional and the mental side of, being gone, from society for a substantial period of time. So that was big, that was enormous in the whole reentry process. Another thing was employment. And the funny thing about that was, initially, I've been home now for 6 years. So initially when I got out, it was a little different. The questions weren't being asked, that the probing questions about incarceration weren't being asked. It was basically, had you been incarcerated in the last year, or not even that question, had you been incarcerated, or had you been convicted in the last year, which I could answer, no, because my offense was over 20 years old. But back then, when I first was released, it was easier. Getting jobs was easier for ex-offenders, for returning citizens. The questions, the applications, I believe, were fair, but today, I believe, since the pandemic, and you have so many people out of work, the applicants, they have, kind of take on a different face. So now you may have people that never had a run-in with, law enforcement or incarceration, and they're competing in that same pool. So I guess they had to kind of change the standards. So when I recently tried to get, because due to the pandemic, a lot of the business that I had, it was kind of put on hold because I do events. So there were no venues or events going on. I have a cleaning service. A lot of people were afraid, because of because of the COVID, to allow people in their spaces. So I look for alternative means of, or alternative streams of income. And one was, to get a part-time job. And it was virtually impossible for me to get that, even with, the experience that I have as being a business owner, for the last 5-6 years of very successful businesses, and having the skill set that I had. One of the, I guess, the friends of reentering citizens was temp agencies. And it was like when I first was released, that was the go-to. If you couldn't get a job anywhere else, a temp agency would give you a shot. But nowadays they have these policies that kind of undermine, that process. So I was talking with quite a few of the members of the task force, namely Zeke Cohen, and we were thinking like what we could possibly do to change this, especially with employment and housing. That was one of the first things he asked me when I applied for the task force. He was like, "How did you do it? How did you successfully get acclimated back into society?" And I told him that it was a struggle. So without the help, it was a lot of work on my part. And again, I had a lot of resources in the Urban League and Recs and Parks, who hired me as a contractor. They didn't mind that I had a background. The city was another one. University of Maryland. I believe I probably got my first job with them. And even the county, Baltimore County, I worked there in social service and housing. So there are a lot of companies out here that say they're ex-offender friendly, but they're not. And that's another problem, to weed out those individuals that say, well, we hire re-entering citizens. Like I'm gonna name a few. FedEx, they say they rehire, they hire re-entering citizens, but they don't. A lot of companies that do, I will say the ones that do: University of Maryland, Walmart, Roll Farm, Chick-fil-A, and the city. But there's quite a few out there that claim to, Amazon is a big one. It is. I couldn't believe that they weren't willing to open their doors, to kind of help with this burden. And that's one of the ways that our society is being burdened, is that these people that's coming back into society, they can't take care of themselves.
So true. Mr. Davis, thank you for that. And I appreciate you sharing, because we've spoke several times, and I was so glad you shared those elements, because there are sometimes folks representing themselves and their services when they're not as friendly as they said they would be. So I appreciate you putting people on the spot, and
right.
Make sure we do a better job of holding them accountable. But I would like to do my last point, because I know I have to get to my partners. I want you to share, because we talked about this, but what would you tell your younger self? If you had to address your younger self, what would you say to yourself 20 years ago? 6 years ago, what would you say?
Well,
I know that's loaded.
I would never transfer. And I know it's probably some Bears out, some Morgan Bears out here, but I would have never had transferred from Tuskegee to Morgan. I just think that at that time, I was going through the maturation process, and I just didn't have the support here in this city that I had back then. So
Exactly.
that's what I was telling.
What I would like to share for the attendees that's here, and he hasn't officially accepted, but I'm hoping that Elijah Davis will serve on our workforce advisory board for that, just from what he's already shared in his personal testimony. He has a wealth of knowledge, and he's pretty busy. So we'll figure that out on our schedule. But thank you. And I know we have to talk offline about some other things, but I do want to personally thank you, because I know you are doing a whole bunch of stuff, and you're truly committed to the returning citizens cause, and you're just truly committed to your community. So I want to thank you personally from
you're welcome, and it's my pleasure.
Yes, thank you. So we've been playing Miss Tags, phone tags, all kind of stuff. So thank you, Mr. Davis.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I would like to talk and acknowledge our program partners. We have 2 here, and 1 has a hard stop. So typically we'll always do ladies first. But Ms. McFadden, if you can give me grace on this one, I will appreciate that. Mr. Walter Billups is the Regional Recruitment Director for the Herbert J. Halter Vocational Training Center. And he will speak to you about what he will be doing and what his program is, because he is also a wealth of information. And I'm just so glad we had a chance to connect sooner than later. So thank you, Walter.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Of course, I'm Walter. I'm the Regional Recruitment Director for Herbert J. Halter Vocational Training Center. Just real briefly, NCIA, the National Center of Institute and Alternatives, has been in business since 1977. We actually opened up the doors to the Herbert J. Halter Vocational Training Center in September of 2017. Fast forward, we have 4, the model is Baltimore, but we have 2 vocational centers in North Carolina, Charlotte and Raleigh. We have 1 in Philly, and we're opening up 1 in DC. And the reason I think we were able to do that in the time frame we have done it, because there's a real need for what it is that we do. We're a vocational training center, and what we basically offer is a crash course from a holistic perspective in vocational training. What happens is I have to determine one's eligibility. And the most important thing about what we offer, it's no cost to the participants. It's no cost to participants that are eligible. So I determine if an individual is eligible, and the way I do that is I have to attach them to a particular funding stream that will pay their tuition. Once they're eligible, then they're entered into, we do 4 cohorts per year. Each cohort is 3.5 months. You're in school. We have an AM's class from 9 to 1, or we have a PM class from 1 to 5. You're there Monday through Thursdays, no class on Fridays. Most of your classroom consists of, well, the 4 training modules are commercial driver's license class B, automotive training, culinary arts, and HVAC. So all of these trainings consist of, half of your training is classroom theory, where you're prepared for your testing, you understand all the safety regulations that you need to do to operate in that particular field. And then the second half is hands-on application. So if you're working in the automotive field, you're gonna actually work on vehicles. HVAC, you're gonna actually work on furnaces, refrigerators, air conditioners. CDL, you're gonna actually practice on a commercial vehicle for your license. You're gonna practice to get your pre-trip inspection under, so you can go test to get a Class B license. And culinary, you actually will operate and work in a commercial kitchen with a professional chef. Now, we designed this as a crash course because we realize most of the population that we serve still need employment. So we only do 4 hours a day, and that way you still can maintain a part-time job or a full-time job while you're in training. And we will assist you to get that particular employment that you need. We actually approach vocational training, I would say, from a holistic perspective, because we have to treat the entire person. So it's not just about vocational training, even though that's the focal point, but you have a case manager. Once you are eligible, a case manager is assigned to you. And that case manager's job is to address any barriers that you may have within your life. Now, do we solve all the issues? Absolutely not. But we can assist you with most issues. Either we have supportive services for you, or we have referral services, referral partners that we can refer you to help you. So what we basically have done is eliminated any excuse for someone that wants to be successful. We have eliminated those excuses. Most of our staff are really sensitive to the population that we serve. And we don't just serve just returning citizens. We actually serve anyone that's in the state of Maryland that will fit those particular funding streams. As for instance, currently right now, the funding streams that are available, and they are constantly evolving. So it's kind of like an organic process. But right now, 18 to 24, anybody 18 to 24, male or female, that resides in Baltimore City, I have funding for them. Anyone in the state of Maryland between the ages of 18 and 24 that has had any type of involvement with the criminal justice system, even as a juvenile, I have funding for them. Anyone that lives in the state of Maryland that's on the SNAP program, with one exception. If you're on the SNAP program, basically you're receiving food stamp assistance, and you can also have what's called TDAP. TDAP is Temporary Disability Assistance Program. So if you're getting food stamps in addition to TDAP, you're eligible. If you're getting food stamps, you're eligible. If you're getting food stamps in addition to what's called TCA, which is Temporary Cash Assistance, you're not eligible. So we run 4 programs a year. And what happens is our staff is a very diverse staff. Now, am I saying we're a perfect organization? Absolutely not. No, there's no perfect organizations. In my opinion, there's no perfect people. So nowhere.
Absolutely.
But we take on the mindset that we don't have problems. We look at it as an opportunity. And if you want to consider it a problem, we want to say it's a wrinkle and we're going to iron it out. We just try to change the mindset of the individuals that come into our program. So everything can be an opportunity, depends on how you view it. And what happens is that we have staff members that were actually students. We have returning citizens that started out as a student and now they're instructors. So we have a population that we can identify with. And our approach is, even though we have a hierarchy and we have a management team and we have different responsibilities, but we make sure that our participants understand that we are all in this together. We are all in this together. And just based on listening to what Ms. Donna was talking about, my philosophy is that rapport is everything. Rapport is everything to me, which develops harmonious relationships. We don't primarily find individual jobs. The reason I was able to help Ms. Donna is because of relationships that I have, and like she said, Officer Horn, actually I met Donna because Officer Horn brought me a young lady that was a returning citizen, and her skill set fit our need. So we hired her and she works for us now. And Donna was a friend of hers, and that's how I met Donna. And I introduced Donna to a friend of mine that has his own company that's a returning citizen, and she was hired. So to me, relationships are everything. We approach this from a holistic perspective because we try to treat the entire person. And what I can say about the returning citizen population is they have been our most committed, our most motivated, the enthusiasm, because if you give a person who's been in that position, they really do not want to return to that in most cases. But if they don't have the opportunity to make some changes, at the end of the day, you have to eat. And sometimes people have to pretty much make decisions that aren't healthy decisions. And sometimes them decisions can come back to haunt you. And that's why that's why it's a crash course. And that's why we offer you some employment or part-time employment while you're in training, because we can understand that, and we try to meet individuals at the level of their needs. So due to the fact that I have a standing weekly.
No, so sorry you have to leave us.
Yes, that I have to prepare for. I'm really sorry that I wouldn't be able to stay longer. Miss Nicole has my information. Anyone also, and I'm sorry, we also service veterans.
Yes.
Also service veterans, whether you have an honorable or dishonorable discharge, not a problem. So I'm sorry that I do have to leave. I would love to stay.
Yes,
I'm appreciative to be a part of this presentation. And
yes.
I'm very appreciative of actually meeting with Mr. Cole. What's going to happen with us is we're going to create a bridge, a referral bridge. I will referring because I have contacts at VOA, I have contacts at Threshold, different organization where returning citizens are at to acclimate back into the society. And I'm going to make sure that I help Ms. Nicole germinate those relationships so that she can
Absolutely.
particular target population to the Urban League.
Thank you. And Walter, let me personally take a little privilege and say thank you. It is about those rapport and relationships. Good friend of mine, who he knows very well, serves as the vice president for that organization. I just made a call about something I'm trying to do, and I would like to speak with someone about workforce and some training programs to do a referral. He said, this is the person you need to call. So definitely my hat and my thank yous to Brother Alameen, Earl Alameen, who introduced me to you. He's a former urban leaguer, like they call, so he knows the mission and the work we do. So we're grateful for the connection. And I appreciate you, sir. So we'll be back in touch to talk about our process and recruitment and referrals. So thank you again for your support this evening, and have a good meeting as well.
Thank you very much, and everybody have a great evening.
Okay, thank you. I would like to now introduce Ebony McFadden. Ebony McFadden is make sure I get the title correct, Director of Career Services and Career and Placement Services. If I said it incorrectly, she'll correct it when she does her intro. So again, that's our program provider who will support us in providing some educational enrichment. And I don't want to take her thunder, so I can't see you that well, Ms. McFadden, so I need your light on a little bit clearer. So there you go.
Can you?
Yes, I can now. So
Okay,
thank you.
all
I
right.
appreciate you making time. She's soon to be someone else, so she's planning a wedding. So it's been hard to kind of get on her schedule. So thank you again for being available this evening, Ebony.
Sure. Thank you for having me. And I also want to thank Donna and Elijah for sharing their stories with us. That was very encouraging. And yes, Elijah, I am a proud bear. Morgan State.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Okay, listen, when no one's perfect. Didn't Walter just say that? That's perfect. Okay.
Thank you. But yes, I do work for Baltimore City Community College. Right now, I'm the Director of Career Services and Employment Placement. I work for the Workforce Development and Continuing Education Department, where our Vice President, Mr. Michael Thomas, sends his greetings. But in workforce development, we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of initiatives going on right now. All of our programs are being offered virtually. It has been a transition. It has been a challenge for us to continue to operate in this COVID world, which has become the new normal, and really makes you think about the future of education and just how you implement any type of service. But right now, we offer scholarships in all of our healthcare programs, certified nursing assistant, pharmacy tech, patient care assistants. In hospitality, we have a customer service program. We have a cyber program as well. And some of our other popular programs that are on hold right now because of COVID and because of the in-person hours, our CDL program. We are still offering our diesel technician program as well, and our construction program. But we are hopeful that maybe in the fall that we will have some type of hybrid program in which we can kind of reintroduce programs to the community. And then also we have our warehouse program as well. For a lot of our returning citizens, we offer an academic enrichment program just to kind of get things flowing and kind of get you used to being back in school. So we offer an academic enrichment where we focus on literacy skills and math skills. We also look at computer literacy. The virtual world is very different now in how you deliver class. Distance learning looks different. So we want to make sure that everyone has the skills to use online platforms such as Zoom, Blackboard, Canvas, Google Meets, and you feel comfortable in doing that. Another big piece with all of our programs, we like to add in our job readiness piece. And this, to me, is one of the most important things in obtaining a job. Yes, it's the technical piece of your skills, your proficiencies, and also, you know, employers want to see that you have different industry certifications, but also employers want to see that you are a well-rounded professional, that you have great communication skills, that you have great professionalism about you, and you can work within a team. So we do have a job readiness program that most of our workforce development students complete. We work on resume development. We work on interview skills. We work on job search strategies. And again, to speak to that COVID world, the interview process, everything looks different. Since we've been teleworking, most of our students are completing virtual interviews. And that's something that you need to practice. So our curriculum has now shifted around the virtual world. So we go through mock virtual interviews with our students to make sure that they are prepared. And even the onboarding process with a lot of our employers, all of that is digital. Everything has to be uploaded. They try to cut down on as much face-to-face time until it's necessary. We work with a lot of great employers in the community. And just to kind of piggyback on what Elijah said, a lot of your returning citizens, especially employers that are very friendly, University of Maryland is probably one of our biggest supporters. And they are looking for a diverse group of employees. And the great thing about them is that they want to hire within their community. So that's a great employer. We work with a lot of transportation companies that are looking for new drivers, looking to learn different skills. So I'm always honest about looking for a job. Looking for a job for anyone can be a job.
Yes.
It's going to take time, but with hard work, we have been successful with all of our students. So I would expect the same for this program.
Absolutely. We are so glad to have you. We're excited for you and excited to have this partnership.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. Again, Ebony McFadden and BCCC is a key stakeholder in the Baltimore City community in working with returning citizens and workforce development. So thank you for being part of our program launch. I do know, and I apologize, I was trying to monitor the participants, but I would like to take a second just to acknowledge our Senator Corey McCray. Can you come off mute to say hello, sir? Because you're doing some great things in Annapolis and passed some great legislation to help support returning citizens. And I just want to say personally, thank you for being a supporter and a listening ear to me as I fuss and complain, but I come with solutions. I come with some problems, but you come with some results, and I appreciate you.
Nicole, I'm thankful for your leadership too. It just was very good to hear from Ebony from BCCC. I'm an alumni, spent 3 years there, 2011 to 2014. Very thankful for your leadership and Mr. Mike's leadership over there with Workforce Development. Please tell him I said hello. And we did some great things for BCCC, just in reference to that budget too, so keep that in mind. I also want to lift up, I see our leader, Tiffany Majors, right here on here. Just want to say thank you for your leadership. And Nicole hit me and she said, hey, we're doing this. And I just wanted to make sure that I just drop by and support. Returning citizens are very, very just important to me. A self-connection, for those that don't know, born right here in Baltimore City. born and raised in Baltimore City, and just thinking about it from a component of not just workforce, because I think about what we did with this COVID Relief Act. And we put out $1 billion in reference to on the streets for higher education, for K through 12 education, for transportation. But one of the intentional things that we did was when we were giving the money to the Maryland DOL, that we set aside $10 million with the priority first of our young people and our returning citizens. So they can look at everything, but they have to prioritize those two categories first, is what we were very intentional about. And just from for those that don't know, Corey McCray, I represent East Baltimore in the Maryland State Senate, but just the voting piece of it. Back in 2015, was able to work on legislation to restore voting rights for those folks that are on parole or probation. And the first time that they had the right to vote was in 2016, and that's 40,000 people across the state of Maryland, 40,000 people across the state of Maryland. But I think about one of the things, and this was my best legislative session yet, the most effective, most efficient legislative session that I had yet. But I think about one that was near and dear to my heart. And I'll end with this, Nicole, if that's okay. Senate Bill 525. One of the things that I realized on this last election cycle was that there were 700 people at our Baltimore City Intake Center, which is basically central bookings. So those folks that had the right to vote, and they were not treated like me or you. We had our ballots mailed to our homes, but they did not have them mailed to the location that they were at. We fixed that during the general election. And this year we made sure that there's a drop box. So in that 2022 election, and they're on at that complex, the only one in the state of Maryland, they're going to have a drop box. So they do not have to interact with the correctional officers, but will be able to participate in democracy themselves. I just want to say thank you for your leadership, for the Greater Baltimore Urban League's leadership. And if there's ever anything that my office can do, I hope that you'll never hesitate to reach out. And I hope that I demonstrated that by the today. Thank you again.
You did. And when I said he did, I reached out to him literally through Facebook, what they say, DM, whatever that's called, direct messaging. I need you tonight. And he's been very supportive for our truest partners. Transportation is a major barrier for returning citizens. So SB Senate Bill 199, make sure I get that correct. Urban League was a big supporter in support of that bill. So thank you for leading that and entertaining me to make sure that it passed. Like, why is it not passed? Why is it still in? Well, it just went on and on and on. But finally, we celebrated them on Monday with a nice virtual program to celebrate the passing of bills. And many of the legislation had your name on it. So thank you, sir. I would like to do this because I wanted to get to our closing remarks. I know we don't have any questions, so I know this is recorded and we'll be able to share this on our live stream. That's okay, Ms. Majors. I'm going to move forward, but I want to make sure I did a public thank you to Natasha Horton, who's our Vice President of Community Development. And again, Truist Bank has a lot of stuff they're doing, but the fact that they put money where their mouth is says a lot. So I just want to personally thank you before we go into the next part of the program for your support of this program and the support that you do in Baltimore in general, in other states as well. So thank you for that, Ms. Horton. I know you're going to bring remarks, but I just want to personally make sure I said that because I don't know if I did earlier. I think we wanted to make sure, if you don't know, yesterday, there was a major historic moment. And that historic moment was when Derek Shoring was convicted of all 3 charges. And I wanted to ask, and if I hope this is okay, I wanted to make sure before we did the closing remarks that we did a tribute to George Floyd. And I want to do a tribute in decency and order, and that is before the hashtag, who the man was. So Essence Magazine, and for those who look like me, we know Essence. I had a subscription since I was 12 or 13. And so I was so glad to see this video early this morning. And I asked everything, which is called Brianna, to make sure we include that. So I'm going to share that now.
betrayed in the night. I didn't even realize how close I was to this gentleman. And you don't connect these dots, unfortunately, until something like this happens.
In a neighborhood like CUNY Homes, you got to have somebody who the Bible will call a person of peace, a man of peace, someone who can give you that stamp and say, guys, don't be suspicious of them. They're here to do good work. I owe much of what I was able to do because of Big Floyd.
You youngsters just going around, just busting guns in crowds, kids getting killed. Hey man, come on home, man. One day it's gonna be you and God. You going up or you going down. You know what I'm saying?
He did what?
That changed the world.
Daddy changed the world.
Thank you for that. And thank you. I think it was in decency, that we did that. And we acknowledge that that's the beginning of a lot of work to be done. Senator McCray and others, I know you agree. And so we'll continue to keep their family in our prayers and all the other families who have not had justice accountability for their loss of loved one. But we will continue to do the hard work. That's what the Urban League's mission is about. And we're glad to be part of that fight. Now I'd like to introduce our biggest cheerleader, Vice President Natasha Horton, please, to bring closing remarks.
Well, good evening, guys. This was such a great kickoff. As you see the smile on my face. Welcome, Corey and Ebony. I actually taught at BCCC. I taught computer literacy there for a number of years. I am a fellow Baltimorean. So, I'm just amazed. So this is a great kickoff. So Tiffany and Nicole, thank you for taking on this initiative and helping those who have been incarcerated really get an opportunity to better their livelihood. I actually want to acknowledge Kaylin Charlton is my colleague who manages our statewide initiatives here at Truist. So Kaylin, you can just wave a little bit, let the guys know you're there. And so when Truist was looking for a partner to help us launch a re-entry workforce development program, we partnered with the Greater Baltimore Urban League. One, because of the work they are currently doing in the community, but also the work they're doing in workforce development and the fact that we also had like-minded synergies. Truist really wanted to partner with an organization who will help us live out our purpose, which really is to inspire and build better lives in communities. And this program that we're launching is going to do exactly that. Kaylin and I really look forward to seeing this program flourish. And we will be here to support the work of the Greater Baltimore Urban League by providing financial literacy training and assisting with career readiness training. So we are here, we're ready to work. Our volunteers are ready and able to help you guys. So really, this is our chance to change the trajectory of the lives of returning citizens and really help them to become all that they want to be. Now we know that, the road is not smooth. Every mountain has its, steeps and climbs and hills and valleys, but we'll get there. So Elijah and Donna, thank you again for sharing your testimony. I really look forward to following your journey. And if there's anything that I can do or anything that anybody at Truist can do to assist you, we're here to help you with the Urban League. And I really am just excited that we're launching this program, and I just know that it's going to be successful. So Nicole, I will turn it over to you, and thank you and Tiffany again for just partnering with us and getting this program off of the ground. So thank you again.
Thank you. And I like to start on time and end on time. So 7 o'clock, but I'm not going to leave unless Tiffany's ready to say goodbye. But I at least want to make sure she can say something before we close out. But again, thank you, everyone. Kaylin, thank you for being on. I apologize. I should have acknowledged you earlier. So my apologies. So thank you for all who were able to be here. I'm so glad this was recorded so we can share it. There's some great things happening in Baltimore. I don't care what anyone else says, and I don't care what any other magazine says or newspaper says. You heard from the best in Baltimore, and that's why we have to continue to do the hard work. Ms.
We're
Majors.
in this together. We're in this together. Right.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Majors, did you want to close out or say anything before we head out?
Quickly, just wanted to say thank you to Elijah and Ebony, and thank you, Kaylin from North Carolina. Appreciate you joining us, and all of our guests for joining in. Senator McCray at the last minute, he steps through. I just talked to him this morning, so I was glad. To, oh wow! So I'm really grateful. We are grateful. This has been a very long path, and Nicole was hired in November, and she has rapidly grabbed this thing by the horn, has been meeting with tons of partners and really laying a great foundation for all of our participants to come in and be successful and succeed. And I received another amazing text when we started this. So this program is going to grow astronomically, very big. But I also wanted to say for Natasha as well, they not only supported us in piloting this program, but she has also been so gracious to serve on our board and is a very active new member on our board. And that means a lot. So it's not just providing funds to support a program, but actually doing the work and sitting on a board to make sure that we have the resources, the knowledge, and the advice from our local partners to support us to succeed. So thank you, everybody. I'm very excited. I can't wait to set the fireworks off when we're allowed back out. And thank you all for joining us this evening.
Absolutely. And thank you, Brianna. We could not make this happen without your technical skills and support. So I've been driving her nuts with changing this, add this logo, do this and do that. So thank you, Brianna. And thank you all. And like Russell Simmons used to say, good night.